Welcome to the Tax Awareness Show. My name is Shilebo Mutiwa. I'm coming live from G20 Finance Track Meeting, where the finance ministers from the G20 and governors are meeting for the third time, which is the last time under the presidency of South Africa, physically in the country. Right. One of the things that came out top really here is the issue around debt crisis in African countries. And one of the the head of Africa expert panel, Mr. Trevor Manuel, really took us through during the media briefing around the issue, what really causes this debt level crisis, because we know that more than 38% of developing countries that are in Africa are spending over 10% of their government revenue really servicing the debt that they have in their books. And one of the things that really he raised is the need for domestic capital markets that really needs to come out, because one of the issues that really increases this debt service cost is as a result of depreciating currencies in African countries against the hard currencies. Because what happens here is that these African countries really borrow money using the hard currency. Then as a result, when there's a depreciating currencies against these hard currencies, that really takes a toll on these African countries when it comes to debt service costs. Maybe let's have a listen Mr. Trevor Manuel when he speaks as a head of Africa expert panel, having a conversation with the journalists. Let's have a listen.
You know, in the work of the Africa panel, debt is perhaps the first issue. And it's important because the debt service costs have squeezed or are squeezing out the development expenses like health and education. And that's a major issue. And frequently this happens in circumstances where countries haven't borrowed more, but the interest rate burden has increased very rapidly. And that is a big issue. I was privileged to be part of the UN Secretary General's expert panel on debt, and we've looked at this in some detail. The expert panel has made 11 recommendations to deal with debt going forward, because debt squeezes out development. It impoverishes countries, actually. It's the only thing that is really shared by people. And we need to develop a handle on debt. Part of dealing with debt is also understanding the cost of capital. And there are elements of the cost of capital that needs particular attention. Included in that is the credit ratings. When countries borrow and the interest rates are very high and they increase in time, then there's a bigger problem going forward. The third aspect of debt is working with Africa to ensure that we develop domestic capital markets. If countries could borrow in their own currencies, then they don't carry the exchange rate burden. Because when you have a fluctuation, many countries borrow in dollars or euro, and when their own currencies depreciate against those hard currencies, then the interest rate burden becomes unsustainable. And those are the reasons why debt is as important to Africa as we're suggesting it is.
And that was Trevor Manuel, the head of Africa expert panel on debt crisis, really taking us through the crisis or the debt crisis on African countries and how it has a negative impact on the well-being of its people and their future for that matter. Because as he mentioned that instead of these African countries really taking and spending money on infrastructure, or for that matter investing in their people and their future, but instead they channel these monies into the issue of servicing the debt level. Really the debt level, or rather the debt crisis in African countries is a quite concerning one that really needs a serious attention. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Shilebo Mutiwa. I'm your host of the Tax Awareness Show. Cheers.